Hi, welcome to Apollo TV. I'm Steve Roitstein. This is an instructional video for my Music Business 3 class at Miami Dade College on several things, dealing with some data, creating a contact list using Microsoft Excel, and some other ideas. You may be wondering what this thing is that we're looking at here. If you're old enough to remember, or maybe you have a family member who had one of these things, the brand name was Rolodex, and I believe the products are still around in some form or other. Kind of thing that a business or a person would have to keep track of their contacts, people. They might staple business cards in there, or apparently, as this person did, use a typewriter to type people's contact information. That was high tech at the time. We've grown to different types of technology here, and that's what we're going to get into today. If you like the content that's being uploaded to Apollo TV, feel free to subscribe to the channel. Click the little bell so that you get a notification every time I upload something new. There's stuff here about music technology and music production, plus music business. I hope you enjoy it. So let's get started. I have already done some of the steps. The assignment page for this assignment explains everything pretty much step by step. The link to this video will be on the page once it's done. It's telling the students to read the chapter, and the first steps are explained here. But before I get to that, I wanted to point out something that I wrote here. Why is this assignment relevant? The data that we receive sometimes gets to us in different ways. And so this skill of modifying the data to fit another system, in this case, a contact list, which we're putting into Excel. It's a very usable skill in the business world. As an entrepreneur or an employee, these kind of skills are very useful. Going beyond just having a contact list and keeping track of people, knowing how to manipulate data is very useful for things like digital marketing and other kinds of research and interpretation that you might do in the future. For now, I have already downloaded this document that is attached to the assignment page, and I've opened it, and that's the first step. And what it's telling me to do is do a find and replace. Okay. Microsoft Word. Here we are, and here's the Word document that came to us somehow from somewhere. And it's just a very short list of 10 different contacts in different formats. If you look at them, you can see that these first two have some commas in there. See that? Others don't. Some of these rows just have maybe a tab or a space, or we're not quite sure. This one here has a semicolon. Those are things that in whatever system that those resided in prior to getting pasted into a Word document, those were things that are probably called delimiters that keep different types of data separate. For instance, you can probably figure out this third one here. This is the name of a company, Tone Records, and then it's a person's name and maybe her job title and a phone number and an email address and addresses. And I'm guessing that this one is delimited by tabs. So the first bit of instructions said, do a find and replace, changing all the dashes, which are also known as hyphens, to commas. Okay. Edit menu. Find. And we're just going to type in a dash because there's one entry there that's using dashes. Oops. So just a dash. And then we're also going to now go to the edit menu, find, but also choose replace. So we've already got the dash in there, and we're going to replace it according to the directions with a comma. No space, just a comma. And we're going to choose replace all. And it's telling me the results. Microsoft Word replaced 9 occurrences of that. So now you can see that this one, instead of having the dashes in it anymore, now has commas. The find and replace command is very powerful for a lot of reasons, so it's good to remember this for anything that you want to replace. And sometimes I'll give you an example. You might be working on a business plan, and it's accumulated quite a few pages, maybe 10, 20, 30 pages. And during the project, it's decided that you want to change the name of the company. Rather than having to go through and retype all of those and risk possibly missing some of them, you just do a find and replace, find the old company name, replace with the new company name, and boom, in one handy command, you have updated your new version of your business plan. A lot of uses for that. Next, once we've accomplished that, replacing the dashes with the commas, I'm going to do a save as and change the file format to plain text. File menu, save as. We can keep the title if we want to. I'm just going to put this new one on the desktop. Down here in file format, we're going to select plain text.txt. This is just a very simple format without any program formatting. So all the Microsoft Word or any other program that you're using, when you do an export or save as .txt, it's just the raw text. Nothing indicating what font there is or a paragraph setting or anything like that. I'm going to click save. And now we get to this magical series of questions. Great. I am just going to click OK and see what happens. I think it's saved. Okay, good. Now we're going to go to Excel, and I don't have Excel open, so I need to go to the dock in my Mac and open Microsoft Excel. And I guess I can just click on create a blank workbook. That's a good place to get started, I guess. It's telling me to open this text file. I'm going to click on the file menu in Excel, open, and navigate to the desktop where I had that text file that I just saved from Microsoft Word. Now I click open, and now another magical dialog. It's explaining a little bit this concept of delimited, and we're going to stick with that. It mentions characters such as commas or tabs separate each field. Okay, great. And we can see that right now it's showing us everything's just kind of jumped together. If I click the next button, that's not working yet because we didn't check semicolon, comma. Now, we could have added the colon here to other, but I didn't do that because I wanted the opportunity to show you that find and replace command in Microsoft Word. It looks like now we're starting to get something reasonably organized here, split up into different fields. So let me click next. And I think for now, I'm just going to click finish. So let's go ahead and click finished and see what happens. All right. Now I can't quite read everything because things are getting cut off. So I'm going to take a look here. And we've got 10 rows. And it's a little bit jumbled up. So let's see what the assignment page says. Okay. What we're going to do is select all this stuff. Click on cell A1. And I'm just going to drag and select all of these cells that have data in them and do a cut. There might be an easier way to do this, but I'm just going to do it this way. On my Mac, it's Command X. And then I'm going to click on A11, Command V as in Victor, and paste it there. It just kind of moves it down. Very good. Now that we've done a little bit of work, let's go ahead and give this thing a name and save it. I'm going to go to the File menu, choose Save As, use the class file naming standards, first initial, last name, and I'm going to call this contact list because that's the name of the project. File format, now we want to make sure that we're saving it as an Excel file. And this version of Excel automatically wants to add the file name extension .xlsx. That's good. I'll just put it on the desktop for now. Click Save. And we're good. So actually, this blank book that I opened initially was not necessary because when Excel imported that text file, it started its own file, which was this one. Great. Now what I'm going to do is at the top of this file, we've got some space to do it because we made some empty rows there. I'm going to put company name. If you don't have one, just make one up. My name, email, phone number. My fake company name is Heavy Mug. On all these things, obviously, the name of the assignment, the file name, and all this stuff. You use your own stuff, not my name. I'm going to type my name, though. My email address. And not my phone number, but you know, you can delete, you can omit the phone number if you want. Great. So now on cell A10, I'm going to start typing in these category names. And I'm going to manipulate the window a little bit so that I can see those things in the background as I type. So cell A10, I'm going to type company. Hit tab. Last, which is short for last name. Tab. First. MI, which is short for middle initial. Nickname. We're going to talk about these a little bit later. Contact type. Phone 1. Phone 2. Fax. Yeah, there's still a few dinosaurs out there that use them. God bless him. Email. That means email address. Street. City. State. Zip. That's the zip code. Contact 2. And finally, notes. The next step, let me kind of get this to occupy more of the screen, is to start wrestling all this into place. We can see, if I scroll back to the side here, that some of these things that are under this column of company name are not company names. They're the person's name. For instance, this person is named Fred Rose. This person's name is Ann Schwartz. Neither of those people use a company name. So what I'm going to do is just kind of start getting it into the proper format. If I click here on Rose and I go insert cells, it's asking me, do I want to shift them down? No, I want to shift them to the right. So now Fred Rose is starting to take shape. Going to do the same thing here with Ann Schwartz. Apparently, she's an attorney. I'm going to shift cells to the right. And maybe she doesn't have a company name. Apparently, all of these other entries here, these other rows, have company names. So far, I believe this column, last name, is all correct. First name seems to be first names. Now we've got a column called middle initial. And apparently we don't have the middle initial for any person here. So I'm going to select all of these cells and say insert cells and shift cells to the right. And it also seems we have no nicknames for anybody. So I'm going to do the same thing again. And now all of these contact types, artist, A&R, attorney, publisher, etc., they're all in the right column. We've got a phone number in the right column. It looks like we've got email addresses in the right column. No, we don't. I'm sorry. I'm selecting all of these right now, and I'm going to keep doing this same command. There might be a more elegant or quicker way to do this, but this is one way to accomplish getting everything in the right place, because I want the email addresses, to go in the email column. And it looks pretty good. I'm seeing right here that somehow this address is in the wrong column for a person named Subi Honey. So I could do a cut and paste if I wanted to, and paste all of this data in the right column. Same thing here. So stuff got out of line here for whatever reason. Cut and paste. And if I'm not mistaken, I think now I have everything in its proper column. Some of the columns are blank for some people. Some are blank for all people. But this is just a format that we've decided on for this contact list in Excel. Almost like you could call a poor man's database. Not quite the same, but similar. It's got data in it, and we can access it, and we can do a certain amount of searching, and I'm going to show you that in a bit. Because I've made some changes that I like, I'm going to save it. Command S, as in save. Let's look at the next steps. Before I do this one, I'm going to add a little bit of visual help for my eyes. Speaking of my eyes, I'm going to zoom in a bit. I'm going to take just these cells of row 10 that have the headings in them. And I'm going to go up here to the border menu and choose all borders. And that puts a nice little rectangle, little border around them. Well, you've still got them selected, or you can reselect them if you unselected them like I did. I'm also going to make those bold. And it's just helping me give a little bit of visual direction to what's going on. Now we're going to do some formatting of some columns. The first thing we're going to do is format columns F, G, and H. The easiest way that I would like to do this is click up here on these letters up here that indicate which column it is. And I'm clicking on the letter, it says F, G, and H. That's actually wrong in this case. Oh, wait. I know what we forgot to do. I'm going to show you a little trick. I'm going to insert here by selecting cell A10 all the way down to A20. I'm going to go to the Insert menu and insert some cells. And we're going to shift everything to the right. I'm going to show you another useful little trick here. I'm going to type in cell A11, the number 1. And in cell A12, I'm going to type the number 2. Now, what I want to accomplish is to be able to sort of easily keep track of the rows and how many rows we have. Now I'm going to select A11 and A12. When I put my cursor inside A11 and I move it slowly to the lower right-hand corner, I can see at some point, oops, right there it was, it turns into a dark black crosshair. And now what I'm going to do is click and drag and pull it down until I have about 20. And I'm going to let go of the mouse. And you can see that it did what's called an autofill. It didn't just copy 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. Excel was assuming that I wanted consecutive numbers starting with 1, 2, and then continuing 3, 4, 5, etc. And you could do that ad infinitum if you just kept scrolling down. I didn't. I'm going to now make column A less wide. And this allows me to keep track of the amount of entries that I have in a very easy way. Right now I've got 10. All right, so back to this idea of formatting columns F, G, and H. I believe I missed that little step in the written directions. I may change that if I get a chance soon. F, G, and H, well, it's still not accurate, I guess, because now it's actually H, I, and J. So I'm going to have to fix that because that says F, G, and H. It's the 3 columns that are phone numbers. Here's how we do it. We go up to the Format menu, and choose cells. Now you can see by looking at the phone numbers that are showing in column H, that doesn't look like a readable phone number because it hasn't been formatted yet. We choose cells. We go to special in this category, and we click on phone number. Click OK, and you're going to see that the data is now being displayed in a formatted way, which is much more friendly to the eye. If you're looking at it, which you might be if you're trying to call somebody on your cell phone and you're looking at this file, you can see kind of this classic format: parentheses, area code, close parentheses, space, the first 3 digits, which I believe is called the exchange, dash, and the last 4 digits. But if you click on any of these cells and you look up here in the formula bar, you can see that all we have are the 10 raw digits without any formatting. That is the actual content of this cell and all these cells, including the ones where we're not seeing a phone number. Those are already formatted in the same way to display this way. So if you input 10 digits without any formatting, because they're pre-formatted, they will automatically be displayed this way. All right. Next step. Now we're going to deal with the zip code. Everything looks pretty good except for there's one here that looks weird, and that is this company called Sweet Bee. It's only got 4 digits. So let's click on this column header, or whatever they call this. I forget the letter O in this case. And do something similar. We're going to go to the Format menu, choose Cells. We're going to go to the Special category. We're still in numbers. But this time we're going to choose Zip Code, not Zip Code +4. We're just going to use the short 5-digit zip code. Click OK. And all of a sudden, everything looks the same except for this one. The reason this was important is because Excel doesn't allow you to have a 0 as a leading number, because that's not a legit number. But the zip code system in the state of New Jersey, I believe the whole state, or maybe some of them, have 0 as the first digit of their zip code. So if you had a letter without that 0 and it was only 7015, it's not going to get there because that's what the post office uses. If you click here on that cell and you look up here in the formula bar, you're seeing that the contents of the formula bar are that zip code, but Excel had stripped out the 0 because that's kind of like an illegal number for Excel. But because you formatted that entire column, it is now displaying it with the leading 0. So we fixed that little issue. What I'm asking the students to do is to add more, 10 more contacts. You can either make them up, or you can add real people that you want to keep track of. And that will give you enough to meet that requirement. A couple more features I want to show you. But first, I'm just going to give you an example of how you might put someone in there. So I'm going to say the name of the company is Breakfast Music. And the person's last name is Bacon. And their first name is Eggson. Eggs and bacon. Get it? Middle initial, if you have one, you can put it in there. If not, don't. His nickname, he doesn't like to be called Eggson. He likes to be called Eggy. And that's important to know when you're contacting somebody. We're going to say he's an artist. And you can notice by this time, Excel has figured out that that's a thing that I may want to retype. So if it's a long word, you could save a little time by just starting to type it. And once Excel recognizes it, you just hit tab and it completes the word for you. In this column, we're assuming that we have the person's phone number. And you would type just the 10 digits. So I'm going to type 212 555. Of course, this is a fake number. 8899. Hit tab. Automatically gets formatted. If you have a second phone number for this person, you can type it. Email address. Obviously, we're probably going to have it. Whatever his fake email address is. ebacon@breakfastmusic.com. The street. For now, I'm going to pretend like I don't have it. You should fill in the streets, especially if you have the information. I'm going to put New York. And once again, I don't have to type it. NY is the state. The zip, I'm just going to make something up. 10011. Contact 2. This is very important because as you go expanding your contact base, you may have a person that works with the main contact, and maybe you don't have a row for them. Maybe eventually you will. In this case, I'm going to type in Jim Graham, comma, assistant. And here I might make some notes. I met Eggy at a gig he played in Miami. He likes Cuban food. Reason I'm writing this is because eventually I'm going to have so many entries in this thing that I'm not going to be able to remember everybody. And this is a good note. Now, the note about his assistant, maybe Eggy gave me his business card, and that's why I ended up having this information. I put it in my little contact list here. And he's got a phone number. And maybe I didn't know whether that was a cell or whatever, and I called it, and somebody answered. And I was trying to be polite, so I said, "Hi, this is Steve Roitstein. Can I please, trying to reach Eggy?" And the person said, "Hi, I'm Jim. I'm Eggy's assistant. Can I take a message for him? He's not here in the office right now." So now I got an opportunity. I've got my contact list open while I'm talking to this person that I'm just talking to for the first time. I put that person's name in here. Try and be friendly. Everyone likes to be treated nicely, and I think that's a good practice just as a human being, but it's also very smart business practice because somebody who's got it together enough to be Eggy's assistant is an important person in that company. And wherever Jim goes now, you might find out about it because our industry is pretty small. And if you encounter Jim once again, you now kind of have a little history together. you can't do that if you don't know the person's name. If you call up and you don't even treat the person who's answering the phone in a nice way, they might feel just a little weird. It feels better when someone kind of takes a moment to acknowledge you. Next time you call back, you want to speak to Eggy. Jim answers the phone. Hi, breakfast music. May I help you? And you go, is this Jim? Yes. Who's this? Well, this is Steve Roitstein. I'm calling to speak to Eggy. How are you, Jim? And now you're kind of developing just a friendly, nice friendship. It's worth a lot. These are the kind of things that I think about in business. It has nothing to do with the course competencies of Music Business 3, computer applications of the music business. But it's nice to operate that way. Couple of features that we want to implement now. The first thing is a very useful feature, and it's going to take advantage of sort of a database-like feature that Excel has called autofilter. This is a requirement of the course. I'm sorry, of the assignment. So I'm going to select all of these headings. Not the whole row, just the headings themselves. Now you can see that they're all selected. When you go up to the data menu, choose autofilter. And it instantly turns these headings into like a drop-down menu. And I'm going to show you how it works. Now you're going to end up with a minimum of 20 contacts just to get the habit of inputting them. I didn't go through all that. So let's think about the fact that I live in Miami, and occasionally I like to travel for business, or I have to because maybe my band Palo is doing a gig somewhere. And I figure, well, as long as I'm going to get on a plane or however I'm traveling and I'm going to be in another city, maybe I could get there a day early, take advantage of the trip, or stay a day later and meet some of my friends or some of my contacts and just have lunch or breakfast or just hang out for a minute. So I know I'm going to New York. If I click here, I could choose everything but, I'm sorry, just New York, and it filters out all the other cities that are not New York. Right now, that doesn't seem that miraculous because we have a very short list. But once you get to the point where you've got many, many rows of contacts, this will be helpful. Now, maybe I was going for a gig and I remembered Eggy and I wanted to have a meeting with Eggy. But I might have completely forgotten about these other people because it's been maybe a long time since I've contacted them. And I'm writing, oh, that's right, Jose Sordo, the publisher. You know, and I might have a note here. Right now I don't, but if I had a note saying, you know, that we had a discussion about maybe him being able to represent some of the music that I control and try and suggest it or recommend it when he's hired as a consultant for a film as a music supervisor, that might be a productive person to touch base with and just contact him, write him an email or perhaps call and say, Jose, I'm going to be in New York. You got time to see me? It's been a while and, you know, want to update you on some of the stuff I've been doing. If I didn't have this autofilter and I had to sift through hundreds and hundreds of people, it's quite likely that I wouldn't have remembered about Jose Sordo. That's very useful. I'll give you another example. Let me go back to selecting everybody. Let's say I'm looking for an attorney for a specific thing, somebody who needs a recommendation, or I need to consult an attorney on something. I go to the contact type. I want to make sure that I'm just looking at attorneys. And now, if I only have two, well, this wasn't that useful. But if I have many and I have maybe hundreds of entries, this is very useful to be able to filter everybody out. And then I can say, oh, well, I could call Ann Schwartz because she's a brilliant attorney. And there you go. So that is one of the features that you need to have implemented. The other one is something called, it's in the assignment page here, split and then freeze panes. As you can see, if I'm scrolling up and down, and let's say I had a lot more rows here, the headers disappear. And that can be very disorienting. If I'm scrolling to the side, the contact name also disappears, which is really inconvenient. So I'm thinking I would like to have, I think it says here exactly which cell to select. Right now it's saying G11. That's not a bad one. You can decide exactly where you want to split. It's going to be row 11 for sure. I'm thinking if I can see their company name, their last name, their first name, their middle initial, their nickname's important, maybe the contact type, and perhaps the phone number, although not that necessary. Yeah, I'm going to take G11 as where I want the split to occur. So I'm going to click on G11. Go to the window menu and choose split. And you can see it's kind of split horizontally and vertically. And what I'm going to do now is do the next command, freeze panes, in the window menu as well. And now, check it out. When I scroll up and down, if I start getting into the 20s and the 30s and the 40s, I can still see my headers. That doesn't scroll with it because it's frozen. And if I scroll to the side, I can still see the company name. So I don't lose track of, if I want to scroll all the way over here and read the notes about Eggy, I don't lose track of who the notes are about because the panes are frozen. We're pretty much done with this assignment. At this point, you're going to save it, back it up to the cloud, and submit it on the assignment page. Once again, if you're in the class, get used to these instructional videos because these are another way to learn how to do the assignment properly. If you're not in the class, either way, if you like what you're seeing, go ahead and subscribe to Palo TV. Click the little bell. That way you'll be notified whenever I upload new content, whether it has to do with a particular class or not. It's all pretty much relevant to somebody who's in the music industry and wants to run their own company and develop their skills as a potential freelance or, let's say, real employee, because the skills are the same. People who own a company need somebody who knows how to manipulate data in the case of this assignment, and do a lot of other administrative stuff. Why? Because Eggy and people like him, they want to concentrate on their music. They know the business needs to get done, but they want to focus on what you can't do for them. And in his case, that if he's an artist, that's writing songs, performing, making videos. You can't do that for an artist, but you could do data manipulation and keeping track of stuff and administration, and that's why you're useful as an employee. This is Steve Roitstein signing off, saying adios.